Good morning. How's everybody doing? Did you enjoy the session this morning? Yeah? I hope you saw something that you have never seen before, or had maybe not even dreamt of seeing in the near future. And I think one of the things that is really exciting about where we are right now is that it's all about this transformation that you've heard us talking so much about over the past couple of days. And the interesting thing about transformation is it comes in so many shapes or forms. It comes in the form of focusing on cost reductions, or improved customer experiences, or bringing completely new business models and innovation to the marketplace. It comes in all kinds of shapes and forms. But what categorizes them all is that it's all about speed. It's all about how you and your organizations are able to act on new ideas, or how your organizations are able to react to what happens in the marketplace. So speed is essential for these types of business transformation, in whatever shape or form business transformation comes to your organization. And it's interesting, this is actually not a new phenomenon. If you look over the history of times, think about back in the 1920s, and you look at companies in the S&P 500 index. Back then, you could expect that a company that was in the S&P 500 index, they would stay there for approximately 67.2 years. So that was kind of a statistic looking at that. And then, as you can see, over times, in the 80s, the average lifetime of a company in the S&P 500 was down to 25 years. This decade, it's down to 15 years. And if this continues with the same rate of change, then about 75% of the companies that you see in the S&P 500 today, they won't be there 10 years from now. And we've got to ask ourselves, what is it that drives this phenomenal pace of change? And why is it that companies cannot stay in an index like the S&P 500? And the answer is pretty clear. If you look at history, it's technology that has enabled some big shifts, and some companies, they make these shifts, they drive these shifts, or they're able to react to these shifts. In fact, some of you know Jack Welch, who was the CEO for one of the world's largest companies, obviously for a time. He had a saying once where he said, if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. So that was basically his way of putting what you're seeing up there. And you can take some clear examples. In fact, Microsoft, have been through some pretty big transformations over the years. Some of you remember when Microsoft made the big change to just move towards the internet. Everything got internet enabled. In Office, we got Internet Explorer, we got everything moving to the internet. A few years ago, we engaged on a new journey on the transformation towards the cloud, and I think you have seen a lot of what that transformation means here over the past couple of days. Take a company like Nordstrom. Nordstrom may be most familiar to those that are in North America, but Nordstrom also back 20 years ago engaged on a new journey where they said we have to digitalize every piece of information we have about our customers and deliver customer service in a completely new way. And Nordstrom is famous for that today. Take Netflix. Now most of you in here grew up at a time when there was actually video rental stores where you went down and you looked at video rental stores. Now video rental stores in themselves was a transformation. It was new because you could now rent videos and watch them on your video recorders. Netflix came along. They transformed the whole industry. I can't even tell you where there's a video rental store anymore. Does anybody know a video rental store where you can rent movies today? Oh, there's one over here? Okay. That's probably in a museum somewhere. But again, great example of a whole industry that got transformed by new types of technology. Take Uber, another example of transformation. Uber was not, people think about Uber as a new form of a taxi company, right? And it is. They're in the business of transporting people from one place to another. But the business model behind it is that Uber, they found a way to really look at underutilized resources that existed, mainly the cars that all of us have, and found a way that the owners of these cars could actually make money on it, and they could transport people faster and cheaper to different places than regular taxi companies. That model is actually not very different from what cloud computing is today, because cloud computing today is really about sharing resources and getting the maximum benefits and maximum utilization out of it. In the typical data center today, if you have your own data centers, you may sit at a utilization of your compute hardware at 4 or 5%. When we are working in the cloud as a whole industry and as a whole world, you sit at a utilization of maybe 90, 95%. So there's a lot of similarities actually with the Uber model and what you see from the cloud in general. Now, when we talk about transformation, we believe that it comes in 3 different areas where you really need to think about it. It's about people, it's about organizations, and it's about industries. And you saw some of these examples here. And we really see it as our most important tasks to support and enable those transformations that you are driving through in your organizations. We cannot give you transformation. Transformation is your job in your organizations. Our job is to support that and enable that. Whether you're reacting or you're acting to transformation, our most important job there is to enable that. We do that through 3 core investment areas that we're really focusing on. We are focused on much more mobile computing, so you see that everywhere and you get benefit of all this powers everywhere. And that's all the way from individuals, where we think about mobile and personal computing, but also where you see it as the entire world. Because as you can see in our mission, we are really focused on the entire planet in this sense. There are parts of the world right now where they're completely skipping cycles of technology innovation that we have all been through. There are parts of the world that will never see copper cables. They will never see fiber optic cables. There are parts of the world where they will just move straight to cell phone, data connections, super high-speed connectivity. And interestingly enough, those can be areas that have been way, way behind for many years. Suddenly they can be leapfrogging other areas because they're skipping technology cycles and moving to something that the rest of the world may be working on adopting. So that in itself is an interesting piece of transformation. Reinventing productivity and the business processes to support these things. In fact, when we talk about transformation, it's kind of an interesting word, because transformation means you're moving from something to another thing. But in fact, transformation is becoming a constant, and it becomes faster and faster and faster. So it's more like a constant evolution, if you will, but it's a lot of transformation after each other. And then the underlying cloud is really what has to help us empower all these different things. If we did not have the cloud, if we did not have those shared resources that I talked about before, if we did not have access to all kinds of data, because the data that you need to run your business is not just data you have inside your own firewall and your own servers and so forth today. Data is now everywhere, and those are data points that you are using either systematically in your business, or you're using them to help form an opinion of decisions that you need to make. Now, as we bring these things together and automating it and using machine learning and so forth, suddenly the world becomes your source of data. And the cloud is a key enabler in actually bringing these things together. Now, we were very excited. We took a little bit of a head start to this convergence. So actually 2 weeks ago, we announced publicly the new Dynamics AX. Some of you have heard about us codename it AX7. So let's take a little look at some of the reactions that we've seen to that.
The ability for Microsoft and AX7 to support a hybrid cloud environment is really essential. With LCS, services, as well as the Azure cloud, honestly, ahead of anyone else in the industry.
What we see is a lot of investment in user interface and making this much more usable for end users, but also taking advantage of the broader suite of Microsoft capabilities.
The business analytics, Cortana integrated, this is a great step forward. This is a step away from having a hosted solution, which I maintain, to an IT as a service solution where I pay as I consume. And that's a great business benefit, having this kind of shift in the cloud everywhere I want in the world. That's great.
Empowering.
Modern.
Opportunity.
Next gen.
Future.
Flexible.
The new user experience in AX7 is awesome.
So hopefully you can tell that we are not the only ones excited. I hope you are as excited as you heard people express on this video. Now I'm also very excited to be able to welcome to stage Wayne Morris and Mike Ehrenberg to have a little chat about what this actually means for the industry and for Microsoft. Please help me welcome Wayne and Mike. Welcome, Mike. Hey, Wayne.
Thank you.
Now, Mike, we talked a little bit about transformation. Actually, we've talked a lot about transformation. What does that mean? What does that mean for the entire ERP and business applications industry in general? What are you seeing? You've been following this for many years.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of years. We don't need to get specific about that. But so for me, I really think about four things. And the first starts with where you started, which is speed. We hear from our customers the need to get deployed quickly, get implemented quickly, uptake change quickly, and I think that's what's driving so much excitement around the work that we've done with cloud and the work that we've done with lifecycle services. I think the second thing is what Chris Capicella talked about yesterday, and the transition of the applications from being just the recorder of what goes on to actually engaging with users and helping them get their work done, and then now to really delivering intelligence. And I think that's really driving the excitement and the demand that we see for analytics and machine learning. Third thing is experience, is that a new generation of users is telling us that they expect the same kind of experience they get in their consumer apps when they come to work, and they want to use it on their device the way they want to use it when they want to use it. And I think that's a very different situation from when we used to tell people it looks like this and you should use it at your desktop and enjoy it. So that's very definitely a change. And I think the last thing is that the world is getting very, very complicated when you think about data security and data privacy and data sovereignty, and the need to say, I need to run my business, but I need to keep this data in this country, and I need to make sure that it's secure and private. And I think that's why we're seeing so much excitement about, for example, the announcements that have been made recently about the Azure cloud and the availability for example, in Germany, run by a German partner. So I think we see all of these things kind of driving the work that we're doing, and certainly driving where we're looking going forward.
And it's interesting you make that point on Germany and how you need to have data centers there, because one of the transformational things here is obviously through technology, but also just the political influence on rules and regulation, legislation, and so on, the impact it has on some of the decisions there.
Yeah, and I think part of the other thing is that what people see is those rules are not set; they're still evolving and they're changing, and they want solutions that give them the flexibility to do what they need to do today, but they feel safe about where they're going to be tomorrow. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of making us focus on, let's be great in the cloud, but let's also keep the on-premise capability available, because we have some customers that still that's the right thing for them, and I think that's one of the unique things that we're doing.
Yeah. So Wayne, you have been driving the Dynamics marketing business end to end for a few years. You're seeing quite a big transformation right now, just from a Dynamics perspective, but also from a Microsoft perspective. What role do you see Dynamics play in this whole transformation?
I think it's very interesting, Christian, and hopefully it's come through fairly cleanly with what Jean-Philippe talked about, what Chris Capossela, and then today with Scott Guthrie. Business applications is extremely important to us. It's part of that business solution. It builds on top of the rest of the Microsoft Intelligent Cloud. I also see a couple of other things that I think are very important for us. When I think about something like the new Dynamics AX, it really does highlight and build on all three ambitions. The more personal computing with what we're doing with workspaces, the user experience that Mike talked about, it clearly kind of helps bring that to life within a commercial environment, not just a consumer or home. It's clearly centered to reinventing productivity and business process. And then it's also very important in terms of building the intelligent cloud. And what I see from even from a market perspective, we need to use our capabilities with business applications like Dynamics AX to showcase what's actually possible, utilizing the rest of those intelligent capabilities, IoT, Cortana Analytics, et cetera, in very clever ways that are embedded within the business process and help people do their job and achieve more, much more rapidly.
Yeah, and I think your comment there on showing the art of the possible, I think becomes a big responsibility for us as we move forward, because I think there's still probably a lot of business leaders in your organizations that may not have that ability to think about the art or know the art of the possible today. How do you see us bring the knowledge of the art of the possible to every business leader?
You know, it's obviously a big challenge for us, and it's also a big opportunity. I see it in multiple ways. One is the innovation that Mike and team and the rest of the development organization that we have within Microsoft are going to continue to deliver. The second thing that we need to make sure is that we're highlighting and showcasing examples of where it's actually being utilized within a customer environment to achieve real outcomes. And that's why I'm excited about having, customers on stage with us pretty much everywhere we go in every session, because it helps kind of trigger and spark other people to think about, well, if they could do that, maybe I could adopt that, even if I'm in a different industry. Sometimes what we see across industry and what's happening in one industry can really be a kind of a spark of innovation for something maybe similar in a different industry.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we need to start talking a little bit about the new Dynamics AX. So I think I'll thank you for now, Wayne. Thank you very much.
We should talk less and show more.
Yeah.
Okay, see you.
No, you can stay.
No, thanks.
I'm actually glad you're staying, Mike, because I think we need to talk a little bit about what we would call the anatomy of AX7. We've seen examples this morning.
The new Dynamics AX.
Yes, codenamed AX7. What is it really about?
I think we start with user experience, and I think we've used the right technology, HTML5. We've delivered an experience that's easy for people to learn. It's intuitive, it's immersive. We spent a lot of time focusing on making sure that it helps them be more productive. And I just, for me, the ability to talk about beautiful UI and ERP in the same sentence is a nice change, and I think we're really excited about that, and I think we're seeing the reaction to that in the marketplace. The second part is about the intelligence, and it really is about, we've got all this data in the system. We have access to other data from the web and from other sources. How do we take that data and turn it actually into insight that makes our users more intelligent, let them turn that into into action, and then really deliver the outcomes. And so the work that we've done to have Power BI, BRBI, is something we're excited about. It also goes to what Wayne talked about. The work we did together to make that possible is now part of the Power BI product. They're now an embeddable solution, and I think that makes a huge difference. The work that we've done with the SQL team to have basically near real-time BI without the overhead of cubes and refreshing cubes is exciting new work, and it's going to be a big part of the SQL 2016 release next year, but it's there for us in the cloud today. And then obviously the last piece, the things we're starting to do with machine learning, really exciting. Of course, cloud. And I think one of the things that was very important to us, and that throughout everything we've done, is we made a decision to say, let's get cloud right. Let's do what we need to make sure that Dynamics AX is architected to be outstanding in the cloud, and in particular on the Azure cloud. And then because of some great work that's going on in the platform team, we'll also have the ability next year to deliver that on premise. And so I think the ability to get a great cloud architecture that, as Scott said this morning, it's got high availability, it's got disaster recovery, it's got elastic capacity built in, both from a technical point of view, but also from the way we're bringing it to market. Really exciting, and then preserving that option to have the same capabilities on premise. Really, really exciting. And then I think one of the things we've been doing for a while, and that we're really taking to the next level here, is not just thinking about AX, the solution, but how do people live with it? How does a customer go through the implementation process? How do they manage? How do they upgrade? And the work that we've been doing in lifecycle services, we're taking to the next level here. So I think that's the short form.
So the continuous life obviously is something we would all like, but from an ERP perspective, we're moving away from that traditional thing. Hey, you do your implementation, your planning, and then nobody touches it for the next 15 years.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to transition to a very similar to what we've already done with CRM online, is a more continuous update process with less disruptive updates, everything done in order to make the upgrade seamless and straightforward. And I think it's exciting because the system will keep delivering new capability, and our customers will continue to be able to move forward with that.
Right. And then the way, obviously, that customers can constantly adopt and pursue those new business opportunities.
Without disruption.
Mike, let's take a look at this thing.
And that would be great. Can we switch to to my screen? Perfect. So just in case the demo doesn't go well, I start with my dog, because who wouldn't like to see a golden retriever? But why don't we get started? So, yeah, snow on the nose, which we haven't seen in a couple of years. Okay, let's get started. So we're running off most of this off a data center here in Europe, but here I am in the new Dynamics AX. I'm going to start out in one of the areas that's new for us, which is employee self-service. And this is an area where, so these are the functions that you want every employee to be able to do. Time, expense, keeping up to their HR information. And obviously having that user experience be simple and easy makes an enormous difference. So the user experience makes a difference. The architecture here, when we do these things in 2012, it's SharePoint based, it's enterprise portal, but here it is the same native client. There's nothing special. It's just exactly what we've done built in. So here I've got, as an employee in one place, all the things that I might need to do. I can even, for example, if I need to edit my emergency contact information, I can do that. I can do that right in here. And we've also backed all this stuff with, or even if I wanted to change my picture in the system, I can do that right here, just uploading a new image. And if you want,
you should update it.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I think that's where I'm headed. Is the kind of the. But usually, what happens when I go into employee self-service is I find Dan Brown, whose team did a great job on the application, and it's usually connected to some salary request or something. So I'm happy it's not Dan this time. But we can also back all of this stuff with workflow. So if employees are making changes and we want to make sure that that's approved before it gets into the production system, it's very simple to configure that. If I go back to the employee self-service page, I also have access here to the things I might need to do, for example, file expenses. And we've done a lot to just say, let me do everything right from what I'm looking at. This is the idea of keeping people productive, so not having to hop around the system. So if I want to enter expenses, I can come right here. I can pick why I've got this expense report, another one of those expensive conferences. I'm based in the main office, so let's go ahead and set that up. And it's going to show me immediately the unreconciled expenses from my credit card. I can pick all of those and add them to the expense report. And now I've got obviously a much simpler experience. I did it right from the workspace. If I want to take a different view, for example, some people want to go see their expenses with a calendar view, I can go see by day, and it makes it easier to complete everything. And it's a much simpler interface than we've traditionally had for these things. We've also got the ability, obviously, in this area, you might be looking at things like my salary, my compensation. You don't want that to just sort of pop up on the screen in front of people. And so you can see over here that that's locked, and I have to explicitly say to show that information, and then I can hide it again. So we've got a very, very complete job of the employee self-service functions. I'm going to take a look at another workspace, and this is now the manager's view. So this is a manager looking at their team and the actions that they might need to do. And so obviously, not just the traditional ERP list, but I've got a much more visual experience. And the workspace here, this is one of the core new concepts in the new Dynamics AX. And you see on the left, I've got a set of tiles, and those kind of organize the things that I might need to get to right now. And then next to that, I've got a list, and it's a list of my team. But I can take a few different views of that list. So first, I just see a summary view. If I look at a particular employee and I click on more details, I get instant access to the actions that are relevant for that employee. I can instead take a different view of my team, maybe focused around their positions. And now here I see their seniority, I see their time, their years of service, when their anniversary date is, et cetera. I can take a compensation view and see where they are, when their last increase was, et cetera. And so I'm not hopping around and going from one screen to another. I stay right here in the workspace, and I'm able to get my work done. I also, on the left, I have some key analytics. So for example, I might want to do a skills assessment of my team. So here I have a really nice visualization of in the role that they're in, these are the skills I expect, and what is their proficiencies in that. Right, so it's. I think the workspace is a core new concept. The manager view is an interesting one. I'm going to take a look at another one, which is in financial period close. So this is one of the activities that is very, very complex process for an enterprise, time-consuming, many steps, dependencies between people. And we see customers actually not even just of our system, but of some of the sort of most complex ERPs on the planet going out and looking at third-party solutions just to drive period close. So the application team, I think, did a great job and built a workspace for that. So I can come in here if I'm responsible for the close. I can kind of get a quick summary view of looking at each of my legal entities, of where am I in the process, how are things going. And then I can, within that, I can see all the tasks. The little locks show me which ones are dependent on something else. I can see who they're assigned to. If I want, I can actually take a look at tasks by a particular person and see what they need to be working on. Let's take a look at Cassie, because she's a little bit behind. And then maybe let me take a look at just one of my companies so I can quickly filter. If I can be a little bit less aggressive with my touch here. I can see an individual view. I can take a look instead maybe at the tasks by a particular area. And let's take a look at, here's a task, verify vendor aging. I can actually perform that right from here. So 2 clicks right from here, and I run the aging report, I complete the task, and I move on. So this is the whole idea of bringing the process in view, letting me see who's working on what, and being able to do everything all from one place.
So Workspace is really for individuals, and they can put together how they do their work. It can be for managers, but it can also be for a team to collaborate on a complex task like
any sort of complex process area. You can bring together the tasks, the process, the data, the analytics, and really drive everything from a single place. Let me look at one other workspace that's got a slightly different focus. Come on. And that's in the retail area of the application. And the retail team has done some great stuff in this release. And we're, just for simplicity, we're not showing the new POS application, which is absolutely beautiful. But this is a workspace that they've built around retail, which is focused on channel deployment. So if I'm a retailer and I'm managing a large number of stores and deployed in those stores, I've got point of sale devices. It's a very, very complex task to make sure that I'm on top of, have I put together the right configuration data, the right point of sale software for each device and gotten it out there. Here I have a workspace view that brings all of that together for me. So I can see where I am in my store deployment. I can actually take a view, for example, of all the devices. I could maybe filter that view to look at a new store that I want to open next week and see where everything is. And I can even go down to the point of, over here to the right, I've got access to all of the very specific configuration. So what should the point of sale keyboard layout look like? Right. And then once I've got that set up, I can actually, from a single touch here, download the application and deploy to those workstations. So here, this is a user. It's a very important user of our system. It's the one who's responsible for administering the deployment, and we've brought the workspace together to make that happen.
Mike, what are some of the other things that you would really highlight as?
So let's take a look at kind of two other things. So let's open up a new window here. I'm going to go into a trial view of the system. And this is one of the features we're very excited about. So I'm running the instance, and I've told the system that I'm a new user. And so now over here, you see on the right a set of getting started links for me. And let's say I'm creating my first sales order. Say it's my first big new Dynamics AX sales order that I want to get closed. And what it's brought up is a task guide. So this is a process description that we're shipping a large number. But creating these is as simple as recording an Excel macro. So this is something the partner can do, the customer can do. And now, kind of the really neat thing is I can say, let's start that task guide. And right here, you see in the UI, there's a box that's popped up just to the left of the task guide that says, OK, go to accounts receivable. And in accounts receivable, sales orders. And now you'll watch that little box will move over and say, OK, stupid, hit new. I'm sorry, OK, new employee, hit new. And when I do that, it advances to the next step. It brings up the dialog to create a new sales order, and now the prompt is telling me exactly what I need to do. So the task guides are a feature we're really proud of because it's one of those things, if you want to think about speed and how do I get new users trained, et cetera, that's now built into the system.
So who creates those task guides?
So we're creating some. Partners can create them, and the customer can create them. And honestly, it's as easy as just saying, start record. I do the steps. I can add a little text about it and save it. We can do some other really cool things with the task guide, but I promised Shri that I would leave a little bit for him to show in his session. So people should go and see. We've got some great deep dives. But you might think, what would it be like to talk to the system and tell it what to do? And you'll see that this afternoon. So the task guide is one of the great features. I think one last one that I want to show in the application. And I'm going to sign into another workspace, and I have to use in private browsing because I got to use different credentials. And of course, that's not going to work for me, right? That's of course not going to work.
So while we're logging in, you mentioned there's going to be other sessions where there's going to be, did you say there's going to be some speech elements in there?
There will be, and I don't think you have to stall anymore because here I am. So great, perfect. OK, so this one is running on out of the US West data center, so that explains a little bit of the delay. But if you take a look over on the right on this workspace, you can see what we've been talking about earlier, where the analytics that are part of this workspace, that is Power BI. And you can see that it's Power BI because you can see the really rich visualization that lets me drill down on the data, in this case with a map view. Any analytic that you can create in Power BI, you can put and add to this desktop. So that's it for the from a product view. I want to take a look at another really important piece, which is lifecycle services. And obviously that's been a huge part of the success of AX 2012, but we're taking it to the next level here. So let's log into lifecycle services. Don't have to go back to my dog because that's going to work. Okay, perfect. And I'll take a look at one of our deployments. And so I've got sort of all the normal lifecycle services pieces. I have a methodology that's built in. I have the ability to go directly to Visual Studio Online, to SharePoint Online. But I can take a look, for example, at my instance, and I can see where I'm deployed in West Europe. And I get a link here that lets me go right to the AX application and log in. That's the same thing that a customer would get when they provision. They'll get an email with that piece. But one of the things that we've heard a lot of feedback from our customers, and the way we think about this new world and how we give that continuous life, is we really want to take what our enterprise best practices around having development instance, test instance, production instance, and formalize the process around those. And one of the things that customers told us is the challenge of getting the right data into those instances is as important and is, in fact, a very, very difficult challenge for them. And so one of the things that's new, and you can see it's designated as preview here, is the configuration and data manager. So I can have a set of data packages, which you see here on the left, and they can be as simple as something that's maybe just my exchange rates. But it could also be a complex set that is everything needed to test the sales part of the application. And so this is a package of data that I can now go say, let me go take that data, and I'm going to apply it, and it will bring up a list of my instances, and I can pick that instance and go push the button, and it'll pump all that data in so that I didn't just get a new cloud instance provision, but I've got it set up with all the data that I need. So there you go.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bring my dog in here.
So I hope you now have a good sense of why we are excited. And the four core areas that I would really like to leave with you here is that intelligent user interface that you saw Mike show here. And a lot of the things that you're going to see in the deep dive sessions later today, it really is much more than just a UI where you interact with the system. It becomes intelligent. It brings information to you. Think about your Cortana on your phones today. If you have a meeting coming up in the other parts of the city later this afternoon, and everything is fine, then nothing will happen. But if there's a traffic jam or an accident somewhere on the freeway, Cortana will come up on your phone and say, hey, you should probably leave a little earlier to be there on time. So I typically refer to this as, Cortana keeps me out of trouble scenarios. And that's where we also want to take machine learning and all the scenarios and the technologies that Mike talked about here and bring that to business scenarios as well. So think about how we can have an assistant also within an ERP system that helps keep you and your people out of trouble. So it's a whole new era of thinking about these things. And obviously this is all about help people make smarter decisions a lot faster, which is one of the core elements of obviously doing faster business. And then the other thing is the proven business logic. We haven't talked about this yet, but if you look at the underlying business logic that sits inside the new Dynamics AX, it is the business logic that you know from Dynamics AX 2012 today. It's an identical data model. It's the same type or the same business logic that sits there. And we've done that very deliberately because we wanted to make sure that you could innovate with stability and that we could innovate with stability. In many ways, we have tried to break the typical innovator's dilemma. So you get all these fantastic new technologies that Mike showed you up here, but you do it with a proven set of business logic behind the scenes. So we're not changing everything. The entire suite of capabilities, functionality, and so forth that you know today is also there with the new Dynamics AX, but we've innovated with all these new areas around it. This is also what allows a lot of our partners and ISVs that create these industry specialized solutions, deep vertical solutions and so forth, to carry forward their solutions to the new Dynamics AX. And we're going to have a number of those available right at launch, which we'll look at later on. So this is really the 4 core investments areas from an AX perspective that we have focused a lot on to really bring the new Dynamics AX to life. Now, we have been working with a number of customers already for a while, along with a set of partners. Please help me welcome Lars from Maersk Container Industry and Paul also from Priva to talk a little bit about their experiences. Lars, welcome. Thank you very much. Paul?
Thank you.
Take a seat.
Thank you.
So I know everybody here in the audience, they probably know who Maersk is, but I know Maersk does a lot of different things. What is Maersk Container Industry?
Yeah. Maersk Container Industry is a manufacturing company. We manufacture containers both for dry cargo and for reefer cargo from manufacturing sites 2 in China, and we have a new start in Chile for the reefer business. And on top of that, we have a spare parts business where we sell spare parts to 350 depots and repair shops, which will take the container in and maintain it after each reefer journey. So that's what we do. We're about 5,500 employees, and Maersk Line is, of course, a significant customer, but we have 40 customers or so.
So what are some of the very, special things in that industry? Because I remember you, when we talked yesterday, you talked about how everything is being manufactured in China, it's heavy steel and so forth.
Yeah, container manufacturing is embedded in China, and all reefer and dry boxes are manufactured in China. I think it goes back to the days, and probably still today, where China is a big exporter, and therefore having a box manufactured there will ensure that the first journey will be a journey with cargo from China to users and consumers in North America or Europe or wherever the goods go. That also means that the supply chain is Chinese. It's steel, and it's a whole raft of different components, paint and flooring, which is developed and is an integrated part of our business and the industry in itself. But it is a small industry. There's 3 manufacturers of reefer boxes in the world, where we are one of them. So it's an industry where we know each other, and we're all bidding for the same business and developing it.
So since you know each other so well, there's also very sharp competition, I can imagine. You're doing something special with Latin America that is basically transforming the industry.
Yes.
Trying to transform.
Yes, we're trying to. That's right. We decided a few years back to establish a manufacturing site in Chile. The logic of Chile is that Chile is an exporter of refrigerated goods. So they import some, but they export a lot. That will be salmon and apples, avocados, or refrigerated products of food, which is transported from the southern hemisphere to the northern during winter. We now have started production there this year, and is ramping the factory up so we can deliver boxes or containers from the factory to the farm directly, so our customers, being container lines, can take advantage of opportunities for selling journeys.
So that transformation is really as tight as saying, instead of them getting a new container from China shipped to Latin America or to Chile, but by you producing it in Chile, you actually get an advantage just from that initial transportation that would otherwise have to take place.
Yes, that's correct. We get some agility in, or we by being there and manufacturing there, we give agility to our customers to take advantage of how their customers' needs are in terms of exporting goods. If there's a customer with 500 boxes or containers of apples, we can supply extra boxes if that is needed. Otherwise, they would have to come from either a depot or from a manufacturing site in China, which will both delay but also possibly ruining this opportunity.
Paul, Priva is also doing some very interesting stuff. I was very fascinated when we talked about it.
Yes, actually on screen now you see one of our partners or customers creating growth underground. I mean, they are growing plants for restaurants in London underground. He will be telling that story tomorrow, and it is one of our examples. What do? We create a climate for growth. We make sure that climate regulation in greenhouses, in buildings, is done in a proper way. And our great leap forward is bringing those two worlds together. We call it urban farming, or we call it sustainable urban delta, which actually means that where the people live in large cities, we make sure that their food production starts to happen instead of in the fields far away from where the people live, or all over the world transporting the goods. We start doing that in the cities themselves.
So you're saying you're in the climate control systems business.
Yes.
But that's not really what you do.
And it is, what we do is we create hardware and we create software and services on top of that to make sure that people and plants live in the best possible way. And what we are changing to is indeed a software company where we will give the data from greenhouses or the data from buildings in our service modules or in our package, and make sure that the climate even becomes better.
So you're a software company?
We actually are a software company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what transformation have you been through to become a software company? Because you weren't a software company 20 years ago.
No, what the biggest transformation for us was indeed from what we say, we sold boxes through partners into projects, either greenhouses or buildings, and we left that for the partners to maintain. The major difference is that we want to go closer to the company, to the customer, closer to help the customer in their best way of working. And that means that we will make sure that our applications, our apps on mobile phone, on tablets can be used anywhere around the workplace, but also when they are not at work, they can still see, is everything going all right within the greenhouse, for example.
So what role has the cloud played in this transformation for you in terms of how you serve your customers? And what are some of the reasons that you are engaged now with the new Dynamics AX?
Yes, first of all, we talk a lot about IoT, Internet of Things. In our business, IoT is not new at all. Controllers and sensors are part of climate control already for ages. What we are doing now is bringing that data into the cloud, which gives massive opportunity of new data models and learning how to control a building climate or how to control a horticulture environment. So that transformation is massive. Dynamics AX, we are a relatively small company, 500 people. Worldwide, we have 10 offices. To manage a relatively small company, you need fast speed, even in ERP. I remember telling our CEO when we said, we are going to move as one of the first companies in the world to the new AX version. She said, hold on, you're going to strangle our company for 3 years and dig in and look internal, and that is going to make us faster? No way. I said, be sure we are going to, as one of the first companies, be sure that we implement an ERP system in an agile way. And we notice that that is possible with this version, and that is really fantastic.
When are you going live?
In March.
In March?
In Canada. And we will, from Canada, move to the other branch offices and move inwards to headquarters, who, in the end, will want to have this version.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Lars, when you engaged on this journey, what drove that?
I think we looked at the platform we had, and we looked at the set up now with Chile, and it was clear that we need to take more data-driven decisions. And that was clear to us at a reasonable early stage. And we started a journey first to visit our infrastructure and our setup there, and then to see how do we manage and how do we handle ERP as a solution. And we have a solution, and we're on our way to AX now. We have a whole raft of data which we do not necessarily use enough for data decisions. So it stays as data, but not as information. And we hope to be able to structure data, get it in the cloud, get someone who's professional to handle it in the cloud, and then we will manufacture containers and service depots and use that data to take calculated or more calculated risks on the commercial side.
Fantastic. So I have a suggestion for the two of you. We should take some of your climate control systems and put them in the container, so when you start transporting the goods, it's actually when you put them in the soil, and then they grow while they're getting transported. So new business transformation for you guys.
To be honest, we're doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lars.
Thank you.
All right. So as I mentioned, we are basing this on a lot of proven business logic, and we have a number of partners that have built fantastic solutions already. They're investing heavily in making solutions ready. So actually, when we go live in the first quarter next year with general availability, we expect to have close to 200 solutions ready. We have more than 200 solutions in the works for the new Dynamics AX, and you see some of them already up here. Those are a few of the partners that we want to recognize for their early investments, and if you go visit them on the show floor here at Convergence, you can actually see some of their solutions. From a roadmap perspective, if we think about the availability of these things, what we announced a couple of weeks ago was that in the first quarter of 2016, so within a few weeks, a couple of months, we will actually have the new Dynamics AX available in the public cloud as a public cloud offering. Now, we will also have the new Dynamics AX available for on-premise deployment. And what is really exciting is that we are using the exact same code base for it. We're not creating two different forks of innovations, one for on-premise and one for the cloud. It's the same thing. We are going to leverage SQL Server 2016, Windows Server 2016, and Azure Stack as core technologies that would allow us to run the exact same Azure code on-premise. So the reason you see a little, not delay, but a little difference in timing of availability is simply that we are waiting to make sure that SQL Server, Windows Server, and Azure Stack is ready, and we have all these things going. As we move forward from here, it'll be completely simultaneous. So we expect the on-premise part of the new Dynamics AX to be available in the second half of 2016. The code upgrade tools, those are the tool sets that we have developed together with partners over the past years. That's what have enabled our partners to bring their solutions into the new Dynamics AX. And it's the same set of code upgrade tools that we'll be making available to you, so you can carry and analyze what customizations and so forth you want to bring forward into the new Dynamics AX. You can start that work and analyzing that pretty shortly after availability here in the first quarter of 2016 and start planning your migrations. And then the actual data upgrade tools to move the data over, we will make those available in the second half of 2016. So we're kind of recommending to do this in two steps. So by making the code upgrade tools available, you really have a good opportunity to plan a very, very thorough and effective upgrade and migration. Right from day one, we're going to have the new Dynamics AX available with all the languages that you know from AX 2012 today. So all the languages are going to be there from day one. The actual legislative capabilities for certain markets is going to come in a couple of stages, as you can see up here. But again, they're going to come quickly after each other, and they're going to be, as for the rest of the data model and business logic, based on the exact same type of customizations that you know from AX 2012 today. We're also continuing the innovation and the upgrades of our AX 2012 code base. In fact, just last week we announced and we released the cumulative update 10 that had new capabilities and so forth in both retail, warehouse management systems, and other core areas of the product. And we are continuing to get, approximately 2 updates a year into 2016 and into 2017. And in fact, we announced already last year that we're going to continue with the mainstream support for AX 2012 until 2018, late into 2018. So there's good time again to plan your migration and do a real thorough job in how you carry those things forward. I'll encourage you to go visit our new website. On this website, we have put a lot of these demos out there. There's walkthroughs, there's white papers, there's videos, and so forth. So it's really a good source to just make sure that you get a real good understanding of the new Dynamics AX. And it's also some that you can share with your colleagues at home. Of course, you can share recordings and so forth from the sessions here. But just by going to the website, you'll actually get a pretty good sense for where we're heading and what this new releases looks like. Mike also opened the curtain a little bit for some of the other sessions that you're going to see here. So we're going to have 3 deep dive sessions in the areas that we've talked about here this morning. And I really, really encourage you to go to them, because in every single one of them, they are pulling out some really exciting stuff, some stuff that we haven't even had a chance to show you up here today. In fact, some of them told us they'll pull out some really exciting stuff, but they didn't want to tell us what it was because they were going to be afraid that we're going to put it into this session. So I'll actually go to these sessions because I want to see what it is that they're trying to pull out of the hat in these sessions. But there's so much exciting stuff to show, and you'll definitely see it in these sessions. Now with that, I want to leave you with one of the small videos that we have on the website, and then I will again thank you very much for your time this morning, and really hope that you'll go and enjoy a lot more about the new Dynamics AX in these 3 sessions. Thank you very much.